And we kind of build their independence with those laptops as they go from 4th to 8th grade. But it is an incredible tool for education and for learning, and really helps us to just further your child's education that much more. And I feel very privileged and lucky to work in a school in a state that supports this much technology in schools. That being said, with that wonderful tool comes an enormous amount of responsibility. Obviously, there's the expense of the physical computers and the sort of care and keeping of that many computers up and running. And so I worry about, or we worry about that being, those computers physically staying safe. And then I worry about the safety of your children and the safety of the students, as I'm speaking to you as well. That with the internet, of course, and today comes also a great amount of responsibility of keeping students safe as they use the computers. So our purpose today is twofold. It's to talk about our expectations with the computers, keeping the computers safe, and what things we have in place to do that, and to safeguard taxpayers and school district expense in them, and also what procedures in place we have to keep students safe, both in school and as they leave the school as 7th graders and 8th graders with these computers in hand, in your home or any other place they may be using the computer or have access. We hope that by having these information sessions with parent and child here together, that we will perhaps spark some conversations at home, and that you will be able to use what you learn here, what we talk about here today, to make sure that we are all on the same page for computer use and internet use, both in our school and when they are at home with you. So we thank you very much for being here today. We promise that we will keep this no more than an hour, and if after that people have questions, Mr. Cole and myself are happy to sort of stay and answer them as long as is necessary. We'll be here all day. So having said that, Mr. Cole's going to start off with just some general information about the laptops themselves and students. In a little bit, we'll have you fire up those laptops if you have them down here and show them off a little bit.
Sure. So I believe everybody here is a 7th grade student. So as many of you may know, we, like all public schools throughout the state of Maine, are part of the Maine Learning Technology Initiative. Starting in 7th grade, all students receive a device. And 2 years ago, we had the choice to choose whether to choose to remain in Apple school or to go with a Hewlett-Packard device. And in my opinion, anyways, and hopefully others as well, we made the right choice by keeping things consistent and staying with the Apple products. So we chose the device that's in front of you now for all of our 7th and 8th graders, as well as what they use at the high school as well at Trader. So this is the 3rd year of us using this product. It's an 11-inch MacBook Air. It's the same device, essentially, is what most of us staff members use here in the district, except staff members can't see so well, so ours is just 2 inches bigger, that's all. But other than that, yours is essentially the same. It is a pretty robust device, certainly a much stronger machine than what you were used to in 6th grade with the white MacBooks, which work and work fine, but these definitely are bigger and better. They also are fragile, too. We'll bring into that in a little bit as well, so please be careful, mindful, and aware of that. But for those of you who are rather interested in what can these devices do, certainly there's a simple Google search will pull up a number of hardware specifications and things to make your eyes spin. But a couple interesting things that these devices can do that others, the white laptops and other devices that your students may use can't do. They can share files wirelessly. not through email or not by saving to a USB drive. For example, if I wanted to share a file with Kiki, I could, I'm connected to the internet, she's connected to the internet, I simply open AirDrop on my computer, your computer, I drag my file onto your icon, you accept, and now you've got the file. Things like that. So students can share files with other students that way. They can share with teachers as well. It's a pretty cool resource. Another pretty neat option with these devices that I've seen used in the classroom is that, and you perhaps have seen it as well in some of your classrooms, is that you don't have to be tethered to wires and cords in the front of the room to present using your laptop. So you could be in the back of the room and connect through Apple TV to your laptop, and then you'd be projecting up on the screen in one of your 7th and 8th grade classrooms that way. So these devices are pretty cool. Technology's changed quite a bit, and it's already changed a little bit more in the 2 years that this product's been out. So anyways, there certainly are many, many more things that I could get into as well. Some of you might find it interesting. You have that trackpad, they call it there, where you move your fingers around. And, check out some of the different multi-touch gestures as well, where you pinch your fingers together and pull up the applications, or you can swipe up, swipe down. It kind of has like a tablet type ability to it. So a lot of different options there as well. But, again, I could go on for a little while longer, but in the interest of time, I will cut it off there. So that's it.
So I said that we have 2 main objectives, to keep the computers safe and to keep students safe. So first we're going to talk about keeping the computers safe. So you should have received a packet, stapled packet when you came in. On the back of the first page, there's a letter there from Mr. Cole, our Shapley laptop rules. And students, these should look familiar to you. But we want parents to know what the rules are for these laptops when they are at school. And for everybody to understand what the consequences are or might be for them for breaking these rules. Furthermore, as we ask as parents that you consider at least which one of these rules or how many of these rules make sense in your own home as well. We think that the most consistency is possible in terms of how these computers can and cannot be used between school and home. It helps us all in terms of keeping them safe and your students safe. But just to review for students, you have seen these before. These have not changed from previous years if you are a returning student. But no food or drink next to your laptop while in use. This is becomes a bigger issue at home than it does at school. In general, that students, if you have water bottles in class, that they need to be on the ground, your water bottle's on the ground while you're using your computer, and we don't allow any computer use in the cafeteria. So if at home, if a spill is going to happen on a computer, it 99% of the time happens at home. So we ask parents to please consider having the same rule at home if your child is using their computer, that they not be eating or drinking at the same time. Cords, cables, and removable storage devices must be inserted carefully. Again, Mr. Cole touched on it, but the disadvantage to these laptops is that they're a little bit, because they're so thin and sleek, it also means that pieces that go in and out can break easier. So please be careful doing that. We're trying to make them last as long as possible.
As an aside, I also will mention the power adapter that is in your bag, and I probably should mention that you all have a power adapter in your bag. They're fairly fragile as well, where the cord could get pinched or rolled over. Just be mindful of that as well. Certainly be aware that taking good care of those is in your best interest as well as ours. Sounds good?
That's good. Yeah. Jump in anytime. Students should never carry the laptop with the lid open. Students are required most of the time to carry their laptop in the case that they've also been issued, that they have in front of them right now. But if they're in class and they're working with this group and they're going over to work with that group and they're taking their laptop, obviously we don't expect them to close it and put it in the case and carry it back, take it out of the case. But we do expect them to close the lid and two-hand carry it when they're moving about a classroom or a short distance. Any carrying throughout the school or between classes, the laptop does need to be in the case. The most frequent issue with these laptops, what we're seeing, is that they get dropped either in the case or not in the case off the side of the desk when moving around, jostling. It's a busy school. And the corners bend, and then that decreases the functionality of the computer itself. So students make sure that you're closing the lid, carry it. Again, that's another one at home. If you could try to enforce, we would appreciate it. Laptops must remain free of any writing, drawing, stickers, or labels that are not the property of the Kittery School Department. In a little bit, we'll be talking about students will have the option to purchase one of the plastic cases. Sorry,
Sure.
I put my computer in.
No.
But Mr. Cole has a plastic case. We will be selling those here for student laptops for $14 a piece, separate from today. And when they arrive, we think it's a worthwhile investment for you. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the insurance piece. But if you purchase a laptop cover either through us or they are for sale other places too, then students obviously can, that's the property of the student, so they can decorate it, put stickers on it, whatever they want, but not on the actual computer. Laptops should be stored in the appropriate laptop cart when not used and charged during this time. In 7th and 8th grade, you have places in your homerooms where you may store your laptops when they are not in use. Most 7th and 8th graders have theirs on them at all times, however, and so they're just carrying around in their case and charging them at home. Brings me to students are responsible for their laptop having a full charge at the beginning of the day. These laptops will carry a charge throughout a whole school day and then some. So the chargers can go home, and if you prefer, stay home. But that means you have to charge them every night so that when they come in, they're fully charged. Laptops and any power supplies should always be within a protected case when carried. Please do not stack items on top of the laptop. Have a pile of books on top. Again, there is that little fragile piece to them because they're so thin. If you have an issue with your laptop, either that you accidentally stumble upon inappropriate content in the internet or it's not working for some reason, please report that to a staff member immediately. That's student responsibility. We need to know if something's not working right or if you come across something that perhaps you shouldn't have, and then we can deal with it from there. Laptops must be used on a table or desk only. Students are not allowed to use them, or shouldn't be using them on the school bus or sitting on the floor or having them on their laps. Again, another one that we ask you as parents to try to reinforce at home, that we prefer that they be on a table. Again, we're trying to avoid them being dropped in any way. Only school-appropriate backgrounds and screensavers may be used on the laptops, and the laptop is for school use. Therefore, the Kittery acceptable use policy is always in effect. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit later about the use of these for reasons other than school, but when they are in school and even when they're home, the primary purpose of them, or really the only purpose of them, is for education and school use. After all your schoolwork is done, and I'm sure you've all done some extra work at home, doing some research on educational sites, then it's up to parents to sort of set the guidelines of what the computer can or cannot be used for at home. And again, we'll be talking about that in a minute, but that they are for school use and the acceptable use guidelines are always in effect. If there is an issue of a student breaking one of these, or a student is caught breaking one of these laptop rules at school, or even perhaps at home if we hear about it, but mostly it's at school that we find out. We have kind of a 3-tiered system of laptop infractions. Last year we had paper cards, and students may remember them, that went in the laptop case or attached to the laptop case. Unfortunately, those got lost more than not, or removed from the case. And so this year we're keeping track of it in home rooms. But if a student receives a laptop infraction, for instance, a teacher catches a student, carrying it with the top open, then the first offense is a warning, and that's between the student and the teacher. In general, parents at this 7th grade, you won't hear about the warning. However, if you are not, if there's only one, everybody gets one, unless it's something pretty extreme. But the homeroom teacher keeps track that warning has been given. So parents, if you ever have any question or wondering, you can certainly contact the homeroom teacher and say, hey, has my child had any laptop infraction warnings yet? However, if there's a second infraction, something else happens, teacher catches a student accessing a non-educational site during the day, which is somewhat difficult to do, but using for a computer other than educational purpose during the school day, then at that point we have the student call home. So the student works with the homeroom teacher or the teacher who caught them with the infraction to call home and let the parent know, look, we've had to have a second conversation about breaking the laptop rule. If there is a third infraction, then at that point we ask parents to come in and meet with us and the student together, Mr. Cole or myself and the homeroom teacher and the student, to sort of talk about what's going on, that we're having trouble with the homeroom. We're having trouble with the computer, not the homeroom. At that point we sort of make a plan for what further consequences might look like if problems continue to persist with correct use of the laptop and following the laptop rules. We hope not to get to that point, but if there are further infractions after that, they usually involve some sort of restriction of using the computer. Sometimes we do have students keep them in school and not allow to bring them home. Sometimes we have to have students keep their computer in Mr. Cole's office, and then a teacher has to check it out for them to use. We do see these as an essential educational tool here. It's part of the fabric of our life. So it's a fine line in terms of, we wouldn't take away a student's textbook because they weren't using it properly. But it's a little bit different when we get to technology. And so if we do get to that point, it seems as though there's a couple every year that kind of push those boundaries. Then teachers do provide paper alternatives or other alternatives for assignments that would normally be done online or on the computer. Hopefully we don't have to get there, but we certainly hope that parents and students will take the guidelines seriously and follow those rules so that we don't have to talk about some of those more unpleasant things. Mr. Cole, Google accounts.
Sure.
Password.
So, this is our 5th year here in the district where we are a Google Apps for Education school. And so it's not new necessarily to 7th graders that you now have a Google account. In fact, you have the same Google account that you had when you were in 6th grade. All students throughout the district, K through 12, have their own Shapley School or Kidder School department Google account. And what that allows is for them to create all sorts of different types of documents or spreadsheets, slideshows, drawings, forms. They can share work with classmates and teachers. They can collaborate. It's a pretty robust and powerful educational option that we've been using now for a number of years. Starting in 7th grade, so all those things remain the same for you students from 6th grade to 7th grade. In addition, starting in 7th grade, we turn on the email option for those accounts. So we still keep it pretty restrictive. Students can send and receive email only to other people that have the shapleyschool.org address. So a student could not email another student in a different school district. They couldn't email people in different states, and vice versa. They can't receive any emails from outside organizations as well. So, but it does allow for them to email classmates, email teachers and other staff members about assignments or collaborating on schoolwork. Perhaps if you've missed a day, you can reach out to a teacher to find out what work might have been missing. You might be asked to turn in an assignment through email from one of your teachers. So email is now an option for you. And again, it can only be used for educational purposes. And if we see that students are sending inappropriate emails or emails that have no educational purpose, Perhaps an infraction might ensue, or we might restrict one's email privileges as a result. So we turn it on in 7th grade because we think our 7th graders are responsible enough, and we think that it also enhances and increases the educational experience. So that's what we have with Google. Your accounts are the same as they were last year, as I mentioned. So for you 7th graders in the room, I think you know what your account information is. It all starts with the number 21, which is stands for the year 2021, which is when you graduated from high school. So it's the number 21, right? I know, it's not that far off. 21, first initial, and then your last name, at shapleyschool.org. And then the default password to your Google account is your first initial, your last initial, and then it's that Infinite Campus number that we sometimes can't remember, but it's that 8 or 9 digit Infinite Campus number that's assigned to you that, again, you'll need to get into Infinite Campus with, and as you'll soon find out, the login to your computer is also that same password as well. So I can help people if people are unaware of what that number is in just a little bit. So that is information regarding your Google accounts, and once we turn on the computers, I'll help people get onto your accounts that way.
So speaking of turning on computers, let's do it. So students, you can take out your computers, and I know that some of you, in the rush to get these out, may not, looks like everyone has a computer, maybe not quite here, but you can have them and turn them on and log on to your computer itself if you are able to. And if you are not able to or don't know how to do that, Mr. Cole can come around and help.
Hopefully they're all charged enough. So my apologies.
If they're not.
They're not.
Yeah, right. If they're not, okay. And so this next section here is that we want to do some talking about the piece of keeping students safe. And as I sometimes liken it to, I wouldn't give the homework assignment of, hey kids, all 7th graders need to go downtown Portsmouth at midnight tonight and see what you find there. But sometimes I feel like when sending these computers home, that we run that risk, that there's a great deal of trouble or danger to be had, in my opinion, with internet use. And so we want to make sure that we're having conversations with our students, and we hope that you are having conversations at home about keeping oneself safe while on the internet, on the computer. One really valuable resource, which we like to point out to parents, is a website called commonsensemedia.org. So students, if you are up and running, you can open up Safari or whatever web browser you prefer, and type in www.commonsensemedia.org. And Mr. Cole didn't need his laptop at the moment. I would have it.
Oh,
Put on here. That's okay. Well, hopefully you can get it up. Dear parents, if you need help with the spelling there, commonsensemedia.org. So parents and students, this website is a really valuable tool that we like to direct people to for all things related to computers and technology, and even books and video games and other resources for both kids and parents around the topic of sort of internet safety and internet appropriateness. For instance, if your student is interested in a video game, and you as a parent, I always feel like, I'm a parent myself, and I always feel like it changes so quickly that I don't have time to research whether or not this is appropriate for you to play this new game. that you want. But Common Sense Media, there are ratings about games, about movies, I believe there are even about books there for parents to sort of look so that you can look up whatever it is that your child is asking you to want or be able to do. Sure, thanks, Sonia. And so Sonia's going to plug in so I can sort of point out to you where that feature is. This is Miss O'Neill, our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade guidance counselor, formerly our 4th and 5th grade guidance counselor. So I probably might look familiar to you. Maybe All right, well, maybe well. But over on the right-hand side, if you're on that website, there should be a little bar about various reviews. And so you can look up video games and movies and things there. Mr. Colby, you need to
click the Apple icon, the system preferences.
Yep.
And then go to displays.
Yep.
And then arrangement.
Yep.
Check the box that says mirror displays. On the bottom left.
Yeah, checked.
It's checked, okay?
Oh, no, it's not.
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so that now we move your screen over so we can see the right hand side of it. We'll get there. We're good at this computer thing, really. Just go up. There we go, a little bit. Okay. So over here on the right, resource for parents and perhaps for students as well to explore all kinds of things based on age, or you can search for a specific app that your child is interested in, or that you know that they're using, website music, and it can sort it by age so that you have an idea as to whether or not that's appropriate for your child or not, or just to help you make those decisions in an ever-changing technology world. So here's some websites, and it tells you whether or not what they're used for, gives you kind of a synopsis of what it is, and then what ages and up it's recommended for. So great resources. Also, back on the homepage thing, up at the top, it's all good. There are, if you click on where it says parent concerns, there's just a list of different things that we are facing in today's world as parents who are facing, to give you more information about them. If you're looking for, geez, I really don't know what I should say to my child about their cell phone use, or what's appropriate age to get my child a cell phone. Cyberbullying, all kinds of things here for parent use. Also for the student, there's also some family guides, and then sort of things that are great for kids. And then over under education, I believe it is, are all kinds of things for both adults and students on if you're looking for more resources. There's also places for students here if you're really interested in technology to learn more about computer coding. It's really just a wealth of information for all parties involved. So we really recommend this site as a way to help you as a parent and you as a child sort of mitigate using the computer. On the back of your packet, the back page of the packet that we handed out, is also something that we recommend really as a conversation starter between parent and child at home. As you take these computers home, maybe the first time for your child, maybe not, but where they have really their own device, and you might already have a cell phone and things that you talked about, but we have some conversation starters here that we hope you will kind of go home and have a family meeting about. This is not something that we require or you
when it's
have to
alive,
do
you
is
can hit
just
on
a
it.
tool. If you choose to fill it out, we think that's great. And to sign, for parent and child to sign it, but you do not need to return it to school. This is kind of what are your guidelines going to be at home. A couple things that we recommend. I always recommend to parents that it be a requirement that you have record of what your child's passwords are. So if they are going on certain websites, and whether it be PBS Kids to Facebook to Twitter, that you have their password, their username and password. Perhaps you keep those sealed in an envelope, with a magnet on the fridge or on top of the fridge, and that you have some deal that you will only use those or only access their sites if they give you reason to access or with their knowledge. So as a parent, you might just say, you know what, every couple of weeks I'm going to take a look at what you're doing, and I'll tell you that I'm doing it, and then I'm going to put it back. Some way to sort of build trust while still being trust but verify, as I like to say. So we want our kids to start building their sort of digital citizenship and showing that they can be good kids the way they are here in school as well on their computer. But they need guidance and to be overseen by us and by you as parents. So if you have a plan for keeping and sharing passwords. Also, and for your home, where might the computer be used? Do you have days time limits? Do you have a certain location where you want the computer used? I really recommend that these computers are not behind closed doors in a bedroom by themselves, but I certainly understand that also kids may need that place to kind of work quietly. But put some limits on them. We do the same here at school. Perhaps contrary to popular belief, kids are not on their computers every minute of the school day here. When it's appropriate for the activity going on in the classroom, we use them, but we also want to make sure that we're raising and educating well-balanced kids. So not everything that happens during the course of the school day uses the computer. I would encourage you to do the same at home. Social media sites. This is always a bit of a sticky wicket for us in terms of can you use social media, Facebook, Twitter, what have you, Instagram on these computers. They certainly have the capability. When you are inside the walls of this school, we have a very strict filtering system. It's much stricter here than actually it is at Mitchell or at Trape, because at Mitchell they don't have the same access, and at Trape, again, we're building that independence among students. But here at Shapley, our filtering system is monitored very closely, and while students are always finding ways around us, it's certainly not foolproof. But in general, you can't get onto any social media sites or YouTube or anything that might have questionable content attached to it. And so while they're in the building, we know with some degree of certainty that they're not getting onto those sites. Once they leave the school and their computer is attached to somebody else's wireless, so either yours at home or the public library or Starbucks wireless, then those sites are not blocked. So it's up to you as parents to decide where your line is, what your rules are at home. A couple recent statistics I got about social media. 96% of millennials have joined a social network, so that's this generation of students. 96% of you probably are already on a social network of one kind or another. Facebook now tops Google for weekly traffic in the United States. And if Facebook were a country, it would be the world's third largest country. So these things are prevalent in our society. They're here to stay. And I think it now depends on how we use them and how we help educate our kids in how to use them. Speaking of which, Shapley School does have a Facebook page, and parents, we hope that you will like us on Facebook if you are a Facebook user. We try to push out a lot of information about what's going on at our school through that, too.
We're over 300 likes now.
We are over 300 likes. Hey! We're getting popular. That's good. So, again, back to the Internet Computer Safety Agreement, guidelines for you at home. What types of social media is acceptable, if any, for you at home, and when when your child is using social media or email or text messaging, kind of what do you expect their behavior to look like there? And then last but most importantly, we hope that you will have a conversation, parents with children, students with your parents, about what you want to happen, both of you, if something inappropriate or dangerous or that makes you uncomfortable happens while you are using your computer. As we know, as you have probably heard, the case of internet crimes and cyberbullying is ever increasing along with the popularity and access to technology. And so I think it's important that we have conversations with our kids about if something inappropriate happens, if somebody that you don't know asks to be your friend on Facebook, how do you want them to handle that? Or if somebody says something to them, even if it's somebody that they know through a text message that makes them uncomfortable, how do you want them to handle that at home? We've said here at school, please tell an adult immediately. And then likewise, students, how do you hope your parents are going to react if you have to come to them? Or what do you want your parents to do? Because what we find and what we hear about is that a lot of kids don't come forward with something dangerous or scary happening because they are afraid about how we as adults are going to respond to that. They are going to be in trouble. While we have to take it seriously, we also want to create an environment in which they're comfortable coming forward to tell us so that we can help them. I would hate to see any of our students get into a jam on the internet, and it's all too easy to happen. 2 years ago now, our school resource officer at the time, Rachel Horning, set up, she became our school resource officer, set up a fake Facebook page and started searching around for Kittery kids and inviting them to like her. So it was a fake picture, fake person, fake page, but she, school resource officer, was behind it. Within a matter of weeks, she had over 300 friends, all Kittery school kids who did not know who she was. So it happens really easily for our kids. You know, I would encourage you as parents, you know, go through your, if your child's are on social media, go through their friend list. Who are these people? Do they know them? Have they actually had a face-to-face conversation with them? It's important that we're talking about that. And kids, it's important that you think about, you know, how can we help you feel comfortable coming to us if you get in a jam while you're online, or text messaging, or whatever it is through technology. So a tool that we really hope that you will use as a family to keep everybody safe when they're using the computer. Infinite Campus. Mr. Cole.
Sure. Just real quick for a minute before I chat about Infinite Campus, I was a little remiss to point out the different parts and pieces that you have in your laptop, which you probably all have noticed, but in particular, the power adapter is one that we had students last year, it seemed to be a growing trend, borrow other people's chargers to the point of perhaps borrowing them for good. And what I've done this year is each of those chargers has a serial number that's attached to it, so hopefully your name is also on the outside of the charger, but I've tied that serial number to your name in my inventory. So when you turn in the power adapter in June, I'll know if your charger isn't the one that I assigned to you now in September. And what Mrs. Owens brought up is, I think, a pretty good point. When you do have the permission to bring your laptops home, these laptops do last a full day if they're fully charged. I'm sure a number of our staff members do this as well. Perhaps just leave your charger right at home. You know of a safe spot at home where it can be charging overnight, it's 100% charged in the morning, bring it to school, leave the charger at home. That might alleviate some of the musical chargers that we were playing towards the end of last year with some of our students. So just my advice, my 2 cents. But students, it's your responsibility. Hang on to that charger, borrowing other people's chargers, and perhaps just swiping them. Clearly it's inappropriate, not acceptable. And if you have a charger, if it's not working for any reason, please see me. We'll make things happen. Okay? Infinite Campus. So Infinite Campus is, I think many of you know what Infinite Campus is. Hopefully you've been using it. You go on from time to time. Pretty robust tool that covers everything from grades to attendance. Want to make sure that you can get on to an Infinite Campus account that you may have already created, and if not, or you don't know how to point that out for you. So an easy way to get to the IC is from the Shapley School website, shapley.kitteryschools.com. A whole number of links here, of course, news items, etc., calendar, upcoming events. Near the bottom of the page are a dozen or so links that are helpful for students as well as you parents and guardians. Infinite Campus is right here. So if you click on this, it'll take you to Kittery's Infinite Campus page. And I think it's important to, you can bookmark this page certainly, but I think it's important, don't just Google Infinite Campus because it won't pull up as this page, but actually to go to it from the Shapley School website so you know you're going to the right spot. And then, if you have already created an account, usually the username is that 8 or 9 digit number that I just shared with many of you. Your Infinite Campus number is often what the username is in this field right here. So some of you might be 742021 and then whatever that last 3 digits are. And then usually the default password are your initials followed by your 6-digit birth date. So for example, if your birthday was today, Meredith, yours would be MC09, what's today, 0915. That's what it would look like as your password.
Again, students, if you know your Infinite Campus, or your parent knows your Infinite Campus account, feel free to pull that up while Mr. Cole is talking about it.
Sure. And then, and if you do not know, or you have not created one before, that's perfectly fine. At the very bottom of the Shapley School website page is a link here where you can sign up for an Infinite Campus parent portal account. And this is the person in particular who runs all things Infinite Campus here in the district, Nancy Embry. So if you've never created the account or you don't know how to get the account, you can email her in embry@kitteryschools.com, or certainly reach out to myself, or Mr. Mosh, or Mrs. Ellis, and we'll make sure you get in the right, in touch with the right person. But it's a great spot to check in from time to time, not only you students, but you parents as well. Let me show you what you might see when you get there. So this is a fictional student's Infinite Campus account. This is the main page where you would see some upcoming notifications and messages. You can see, for example, there's the 7th, 8th grade parent laptop meeting that was held yesterday. Sports physicals next week, things of that nature. Open house coming up. That's what you'd see on the home page. So again, it's great to check in from time to time so you can stay up to date with what's going on. On the left-hand side of the page, for those of you who are on there, you can see all the other tabs at your disposal. Course schedule, pretty important. So find where your student might be at a certain time of the day and week. See who that teacher is, what room it is. We're in trimesters now, so broken down into trimesters. That's all under the course schedule. And you can also email that teacher through this page. A biggie, certainly as the trimesters come to close, are the grades tab. So I just created these screenshots pretty recently, so no grades here at the moment for this student, but certainly as scores are entered, grades would show up here. To-do list is helpful as well. So again, early in the year, the student does not have any assignments due, but as teachers start entering assignments, a list here would show up of what assignments are around the corner. So students, it's important that you check in on this bookmark it if you need to, and I strongly encourage parents to pop in on these accounts from time to time as well. Infinite Campus.
Great check-in with parents if you're just wondering, how your child is doing, whether or not they've turned in their assignments. You're also, always welcome to email teachers. If you go back to the schedule page for me.
Sure.
So anytime you click on one of those little envelopes there, that'll pop up an email to that teacher. So if you have a question, that's another way to email the teacher for a particular class. And our teachers are great about, I think they're great about getting back in touch with you if you email them, but also a lot of the information or questions you might have can be answered by checking in the Infinite Campus. Lastly, and of course, perhaps least pleasant in all this, is that we do require any 7th and 8th grade laptop, which are the ones that purchased through the MLTI program, to carry insurance, which is unfortunately on you, the part of the parents. The good news is that we do have a variety of payment options. First of all, for those of you who are on free or reduced lunch, there is a reduced payment that is on your sheet. We also offer payment plans with the first half of whatever level you need to pay at being due before the 18th and the second half due before October 23rd. If that payment plan also doesn't work for you, please just email us or contact us and we're happy to try to work something out. The most important thing is that you talk to us so that we can try to make sure we really do truly want these computers to go home with your child, and we don't want this to be a barrier, but unfortunately it's something that we're required to do. On the back of this sheet, it talks about the type of coverage this is. It is all-inclusive, including if you do spill it or drop it, those things are all covered. There is a $100 deductible for it, so if the computer is damaged and we have to send it out to be repaired, parents are then also responsible for the $100 deductible against those repairs. I know that that's harsh, but it kind of gives us all extra incentive to make sure that they are well taken care of.
Just real quick, most of the repairs that get sent off are $400 or more, so for $170, it's a much better deal anyways, to mention that.
Yeah, right. So students are always anxious to know, how soon can I bring my computer home? 3 things have to happen. 1, you have to attend one of these sessions with your parent, so bravo, you have done that. 2, your parent, your family has to at least made a payment before, towards the insurance before they can go home. We're happy to have you pay in full as well. And then 3, you have to pass the laptop test, and we need to score those and make sure you are right. That's happening in classes as early as today, but before the end of the week. You can have as many opportunities as you need to retake that test. So we're looking at computers. The earliest computers will go home is this Friday if those 3 conditions are met, so that they're not going home today. But there's a variety of information that we need from you here. Particularly while you're sitting there with your child's computer, their name, their homeroom teacher, and their laptop asset tag number, which is in the top right-hand corner of their computer. There should be a sticker on it when it is closed that gives you that number. So if you could help us by recording that number there, that would be great. And then we will accept your payment as soon as today. If you are paying for it, checks can be made out to Kittery School Department, or we will take cash. Appreciate your patience as you leave today. We'll be doing that. We'll be accepting those payments at the same table that you checked in coming in. If you want to kind of take it home and think about it, review it, and send it back in, that is also fine. We've credited you as being here, so there's not pressure to pay today. As I said earlier, we also encourage you to buy